Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another 12 Months to Mastery module. Of course, as always, I am John Sin, and we are still in the qualification portion of our 12 Months to Mastery at Home course. So we have a video today on qualification and hoops. So what are hoops? Hoops are a less technical way of saying a request for compliance. Saying a request for compliance sounds kind of nerdy, and it's long. Doesn't really roll off the tongue like a hoop. Hoop is a good image. I think Mystery came up with the idea of hoop theory. Was the first place I ever heard it. So we'll just credit Mystery, give credit where credit is due. Basically, hoops can be questions like, are you adventurous? Are you a player? Buy me a drink. They can be commands. Buy me a drink. Grab me a drink from the kitchen while you're up. Hold this for a second. Give me your hand. Spin around. Close your eyes. They can even be requests. Hand me that. Hold this for a second, etc., etc. The idea with hoops is that we're asking for compliance. Anytime a hoop is happening, whether a woman is putting a hoop in front of you or you're putting a hoop in front of a woman, what's happening is one person is requesting compliance from another person, and that is a hoop. So anytime that's happening, there's a hoop being put in, and we want to be aware of where these hoops are, not overly aware. Some guys get obsessed and think every single thing a woman asks is a hoop or a challenge or a test. That's not true. But you want to be aware of them when they happen, and you want to also know how to use them in order to build compliance and move the qualification process along. Why are hoops important? Hoops are vital because whoever controls the hoops controls the interaction. If a woman asks you to, buy her a drink and do this, that, or the other, and, tells you where she wants to go on a dinner date and basically leads the entire interaction, she's in control. And sometimes, for some type of women, they need that in order to be attracted or turned on. But for most women, it's not really a good thing. Instead, we want to maintain control of our hoops and learn how to deal with the hoops that women will occasionally present us with. One of the things about hoops is as your game gets better, you'll get less of them. The same thing with tests, the same thing with dealing with other guys coming into your interactions and trying to steal girls away from you. A lot of those are beginner problems. They happen because you're projecting some sort of weakness that the person sees and wants to jump onto. So as you get better, you'll get less and less hoops from women. Like, I can't tell you the last time I got a hoop from a woman. Just because as you get better, women are less likely to test you or try to control the interaction, because instead they're flipped into chasing mode and they want to make things work with you. All right, so let's talk about dealing with hoops. When it comes to dealing with hoops from women, there are basically three options. Two of them good, one of them bad. And you've probably heard a decent amount about all of these before. So let's real briefly go through them. Number one, jump through the hoop. Woman says, buy me a drink, or, stand here for a second, or hold my purse, or whatever. And you're just like, okay. And you do it. And then you do it again and again and again. And after a while, you start to feel resentment because you're doing all these things for a woman and she's not attracted to you. Sound familiar? That's why it's bad to jump through hoops. So we don't want to do that. The second option is to ignore it. And as you know, I'm a big fan of ignoring anything that can't help you. The first time you get a hoop from a woman, just act like it didn't happen. Ignore it. The number one rule of pickup, in my opinion, is ignore anything which cannot help you. Do not focus attention, energy, anything on it unless it's positive, unless it's going to help you move forward. If it's not helping you move forward, just ignore it. You're under no obligation to have a conversation about a subject you don't want to. So try to ignore things first. The third option is to reframe it. This is generally where you either try to make her do something first, or you change the context of the interaction. We're going to talk about reframing a decent amount later on in this course, once we get through qualification and we start talking about dates and comfort. Framing becomes a big part of things. So for now, just understand that to reframe means to change the context. So, a woman says, buy me a drink. And I go, oh, I don't buy girls drinks. I have a rule. Right? Now, I've reframed it. And she's like, what's your rule? And I'm like, oh, I just don't buy girls drinks in bars. Like, I'll buy one for you later, like, if we're, like, hanging out, but not in the beginning. I just have a rule. And, I have a rule is a great phrase because you can have a rule about anything. Or, you go, oh, I don't buy girls drinks, but if you buy me one, I'll buy you one later. Or if you make out with me, I'll buy you a drink. Whatever, you put some hoop in front of it. That's the idea of reframing. But again, ignoring is better than reframing because reframing might not work. A lot of the time, ignoring just ends it. All right, hoops and qualification. When it comes to qualifying a woman, what we want to do is get her to jump through progressively larger hoops. We want to get bigger and bigger compliance requests, and we use hoops as one of our main ways of doing this. A few weeks ago in the compliance and investment video where I was explaining kind of the inner game of qualification, I talked about the idea that compliance builds momentum. This is where that takes place. The use of hoops in qualification, we want to use what's called a yes ladder. And let me tell you a little bit about qualification here and how it's evolved since I've gotten involved with it. When I took my Mystery Method boot camp with Mystery in 2004, qualification was the game changer. It was the bites coming on moment, epiphany, whatever you want to call it. And I went from having slept with 8 girls in my life up to that point to sleeping with 8 girls the next month. So incredibly powerful. And even back then, Mystery was only teaching the idea that you basically build attraction. You get 3 IOIs, 3 indicators of interest, which could be like the girl flicks her hair, like licks her lips, and like touches you. And then you're supposed to ask what she has going for her more than her looks. And even that worked well enough that I slept with 8 girls like the next month. But at the time, I was reading some sales literature, and I read the idea of the yes ladder. And the yes ladder is the idea that instead of trying to get someone to say yes to something big right up front, you want to get them to say yes to a series of smaller things before you hit them with the big thing. That's the idea that compliance builds momentum. The more someone says yes, the more likely they are to say yes in the future. The more someone qualifies themselves, the more likely they are to qualify themselves in the future. These hoops are the actual tool we're going to use to progressively make women qualify themselves more and more. Hope that makes sense for you. Listen to this again. Hoops are the tool we're going to use to make women progressively qualify themselves in larger and larger ways. So that's why hoops are so important. And hoops come in a couple different varieties, which we're going to go through now. First are small hoops. Small hoops are easy to answer yes or no questions based around positive female stereotypes. That's it. Small hoops, we're just trying to get the momentum rolling. We want her to just say yes. We're not going to tell her we think she's amazing or anything because of it. We just want to get the spark going. We just want to say, are you adventurous? Are you spontaneous? Are you a good friend? Anything that's a positive female stereotype, something she wants to be, something she wants to say yes to. And if a girl's attracted at all, she should answer yes to a small hoop. I think in my entire pickup career, I've only once had a girl not answer a small hoop who was attracted to me, and it was because the small hoop was, are you adventurous? And she was really boring, and she didn't want to lie. But yeah, if you start to feel like you're getting some attraction, throw some small hoops out there. That's the starting point. Now, medium hoops are where the rubber really meets the road. These are not yes or no questions, and they require a little more thought on her part. There are 2 reasons girls will not answer medium hoops. The first one is that they don't like you. If you say something like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what nationality are you? Or what do you do when you're not here? Some variation of what do you do outside of wherever you're meeting her. And she doesn't answer. She's just like, oh, the usual stuff, or I'm a mutt, or, I don't know. Or like, this is a weird question. They don't like you. The second reason is that they don't want to turn you off with their answer. So if a girl starts putting in effort, remember, compliance and investment. If the girl's putting in effort, even if she doesn't have a great answer, you want to qualify her for even just trying to answer. Because you want to reward her every time she invests in the interaction. We always want to reward investment and punish defiance. There's a subroutine that runs throughout an entire interaction with a woman, which is the punishment reward subroutine. And when a girl doesn't do what we want her to do, she doesn't comply, we need to punish her a little bit. And that sounds, kind of evil, but the punishment could just be a tease. It could just be removing attention. It doesn't have to be anything mean. And when she invests, when she does answer and comply, then we want to reward her with compliments, physical touching, stuff like that. All right, large hoops. Large hoops are blatantly qualifying questions. These should only be used after small and medium hoops. Trust me, I did the field work for you. I had a 50% qualification rate at one point. Literally half the time I would try to qualify girls, they would be like, what the fuck kind of question is that? Because I was trying large hoops, what do you have going for you more than your looks? Also, try to make your large hoops polite. A lot of the time, I'll tack compliments onto my large hoops. I'll be like, you know what, you were really, really pretty, or, you were really my type, or, I really like talking to you, but I'm just wondering, what's the coolest thing about you? Or what's cool about you besides your looks? Or what is something people wouldn't guess about you? The idea of a large hoop is that they're blatantly qualifying questions that you're asking after she's already qualified herself and she now realizes what she's doing but continues to do it anyway. And that's the thing with large hoops. So large hoops are very important because they act as the bridge between attraction and comfort. If a woman answers a large qualification question, she's really into you. She's very attracted, and you can now start to build comfort and connection with her because she's down. All right, let's recap. In today's videos, we learned all about hoops. We learned what they are, compliance requests. We learned the 3 ways you can deal with them: jumping into them, ignoring them, or trying to reframe. And we defined small, medium, and large hoops, which will become super mega important next week when we introduce the bait hook reel release rapport mechanism, which is definitely a game changer. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. We have an exercise for you, which is pretty simple. Come up with your own examples of 2 small hoops, 2 medium hoops, and a large hoop. Just 5 different hoops, and then try to use them in a conversation with a woman you're attracted to. You don't need to use all 5. If you can, that's great. You'll probably get laid. But if it doesn't feel natural, you don't know when to force it in, don't worry about it. Just get used to throwing hoops out there and making the girl work in the interaction, because this also goes into the idea of getting women to chase you. The more you get a woman to invest in the interaction and jump into hoops, the easier it's going to be to get her into bed, to get her to chase you, all sorts of stuff, because she's really putting in the effort. In next week's video, we'll be going over the bait hook reel release mechanism and how that relates to qualification. I've made a lot of changes to this since I originally learned the basic bait hook reel release thing from Mystery. There's more to it. There's rapport. I'm going to teach you how to fit this whole idea of qualification seamlessly into conversation, not making it sound like a job interview or weird or anything like that. So you'll definitely want to be back for that, and I will talk to you then.